Hey, what up, Joe? And happy Frezh History Month. My name is Myzho, and I am the creative director for Frezh Division. And we are doing this video today, for one, because we want to celebrate Frezh history, and two, we want to introduce our new designs and the inspiration for the designs. So two things are for sure. For one, we did this video because we want to talk about fashion and the history of fashion and the influence. And then two, we want to remind the masses where the influence came from. You know, one of the things that we did notice is that within our culture now, we tend to have an infatuation with some of the foreign designers and the foreign brands, which is not a problem at all, but it's just important that we know where they got their influence from, because that's the common denominator. When you look at fashion, the next thing is influence, and that's where history is important. So the fashion capitals of the world throughout time have always been Paris, Italy, Tokyo on the international level, and then of course New York. So we appreciate them, but have we ever asked the question, where did they get their style from? Where did they get their drip from? That's where history comes in. So when you're looking at Italy, when you're looking at Spain, when you're looking at Paris, of course that's Europe. And it is impossible to mention Europe without mentioning the Moors. Like, you can't do it. The Moors literally traveled from Kemet to Europe and saved their culture. They introduced agriculture, they introduced architecture, they introduced musical instruments. So of course they introduced style. And you know, the running joke at the time was they didn't even have soap. So when it comes to the Moors, you can't mention the Moors without mentioning a guy by the name of Ziryab, and that's his nickname. Ziryab means blackbird in Arabic. And he got his nickname because he was a dark-skinned guy and he had a beautiful singing voice. This guy was like Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, and Sammy Davis Jr. He was just that guy. He was such a huge influence. And Ziryab helped structure fashion as we know it. When it comes to concepts like, we wear these colors in the spring, we wear these colors in the fall, we wear these colors in the winter, Ziryab helped structure that. And as it relates to, we wear these clothes in the mornings, we wear these clothes at night, we wear these clothes when we're going out. Like, he introduced those concepts as well. Ziryab was heavy in creating perfumes, fragrances, and even introducing hairstyles. And when it comes to fashion, he was the pivotal person in structuring how fashion is today. He was so influential that people would want to study under him. So he had students. And so his students, learning concepts taught by Ziryab, they took those concepts and spread it throughout the world. They went on and traveled throughout the world and introduced those concepts to Europe. And you can tell because there was black royalty in Europe at the time. In a simple Google search, you would truly see where there's pictures, there's paintings from some of the coins, some of the flags. You can see these pictures of black royalty, and we were dressed up, we were together, we were fashionable, we were nice. And you can look at some of their old flags and some of the coins and some of the jewelry all had people of color. And even some of the flags had people of color with headbands on. The same things we do now. We took the concepts from Kemet and spread them throughout the world. When it comes to the ancestors, and when you're talking about fashion, you have to remember that we are our ancestors. Like, I am my parents and I have their DNA. And that's my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents. So when it comes to characteristics, when it comes to traits, when it comes to style, you know, they say there's nothing new under the sun. And that's because I am a combination of all of my ancestors. And you can see that through some of the fashion when it relates to some hairstyles, when it relates to jewelry, or even wearing gold, or even gold teeth. You see old pictures in the Aztec community where they had emeralds and rubies in their gold teeth. And even in Kemet, you have pictures of gold teeth and gold grills. And when you're looking at hairstyles, some of the same hairstyles we wore back then, we still wear today. And even when you look at hieroglyphics, that's an important piece, because hieroglyphs, there were two pivotal reasonings why they wrote the hieroglyphs the way they did. One, they wanted to make sure that this was written where everyone could see it. And two, They wanted to make sure that only those that knew that culture could understand it. And if you fast forward to now, one concept of that is graffiti. When you're looking at street graffiti, in the tunnels, in the hallways, on the streets, and even some of the gang graffiti, those same two concepts are valid. For one, some of that gang graffiti is written so that only people of that culture can understand it. And two, they're writing the graffiti in places where everyone can see it. Because you can have person A look at some graffiti and not know what it is, and you can have person B that's from that culture, they can look at that same graffiti and know what it is, what it's saying, and who they're talking to. And that's why these new designs are hieroglyphs, because we want to just introduce that concept again. We sort of just want to take it back to the essence, take it back to the root. We've always been fashionable. We've always been, we've always had a heavy sense of fashion. That's why we brought these designs. If anything, we just want to plant a seed to someone to take a look and to research their history.